to the main page. I didn't want to get to this first because there's so much going on that I would probably get sidetracked, and so would you. I will give my critique on the collections. There is a lot of British, European, and American representation. They also represent a lot of females and black artists and black empowerment through artworks. I was really sad to see that I couldn't find much on Asian art at all. I didn't see anything on Islamic art. The country I live and work in now has a big push for letting people be aware of Islamic arts and values. I used to live in Asia. I don't see much there either. Even South America, I saw maybe a couple artists. So if you are a fan of specifically Western art and that's all you want to see, this museum is the place for you. That's not my interest so much. So as much as I obviously love Western art and appreciate it, I think that for an American gallery in the capital, there should be a representation of the melting pot that we call ourselves. And I could see a lot of people coming here and feeling left out. So we do have to be aware of that. Now we can go through the highlights. I'll just show you a little bit about what's in this museum so you can see my point. We've got classical art, we've got modern art, all of the relics and religious pieces are all Christian. I didn't see any Islamic art. I didn't see much on Hindu art, for example. I didn't see much. And that bothered me a bit. Just because I'm so used to going places that are inclusive. And I feel like when I travel and see shows that show a specific thing from their country, I get when it seems a little exclusive just because it's showing what is in this country and the history of this country. However, the history of our country is diversity. So that should show. But I loved the representation of women here. For example, Mary Cassatt. She is definitely underrepresented in the male-dominated Impressionist movement, so I'm glad that she actually was highlighted the most. Dorothea Lange has a huge collection of photos here. What I like a lot is that they have so many famous names. You'll be so happy flipping through, you'll recognize so many names, but I like that they picked artworks that weren't the top most famous. So you would be able to engage by knowing the artist if you're into art, but you would also learn something new by seeing new pieces. Diane Arbus is one of my favorite photographers. I was glad to see her here. You can see there's a lot of early, high, and late Renaissance. You can see there's a big modern art push. No modern art gallery would be complete without a Piet Mondrian piece. I am impressed. If you're looking at it as a Western art museum, they have it all. Wassily Kandinsky, Alexander Calder, Rothko, Monet, Goya, Jasper Johns, you name it, they've got it. I won't go too much further, but I'll just show you a few more of my favorites here. Raphael. They have Ava Hess. She's one of the only contemporary artists I was able to find, but I feel this Fibers collection would be really engaging. This looks like a Medici bust, so they've been putting a little bit of historical context towards the artworks. Not only are they showing a range of Renaissance art, but they are representing busts of the leading family that owned the banks here and ran all the big art commissions through. So I'm glad to see the Medici have a place here. Carrie Mae Weems. So this just had me thinking. I am assuming that the funders and donors like it to be a classical museum. I do feel like they tried in places that they could by focusing on women artists or women in the artworks. Um, Carrie Mae Weems actually has a lot of controversial artwork, which I love. Um, but they chose to use her portraits here. So I'm glad they still represented an art activist without really showing her art activist artworks. I don't know if any of you are familiar with her work in the Tate Modern, but she actually had a whole court case against her because she used photos from the archives in Harvard Art Museum for her artwork, and then I believe they tried to sue her for taking their artwork collection, and she was like, I'm sorry, do you think you own slavery? So look into that if you want. She's one of my favorite photographers. Again, it was an artwork that I didn't know by her as much as her other work, so that interested me too. They've got Surrealism here with Rene Magritte. Glenn Ligon, another Black artist that I thought would be important to put in the show. Gauguin, Georgia O'Keeffe. So if we go back to the main page, now that you've seen a little more of the show, the exhibitions they have, I felt it to be a little exclusive. I think there should have been a lot more cultural diversity. I think that the displays are a little cut and dry. I think they need a little bit of a revamp and some new media. I enjoyed looking at the collection. I liked it. But I wish it was more inclusive. Because my students are from outside the States and my husband is Egyptian, so he's not from the States either, I just feel I would rather take my friends, family, or students from outside the country to a different museum than this one to be a little more engaged and feel a little more included and welcome. Especially because I'm sure there's so many tourists that come through here. But also, I am a big fan of contemporary art because I find it more engaging and people can walk around it. And it's new, so it doesn't have that feeling of walking on eggshells, trying not to break the expensive artworks and furniture. So I'd love them to expand into a contemporary wing and get a little more digital. But I really enjoyed looking through the collection. I liked seeing the events and the past and present exhibitions as well as the future ones. The archives were interesting to look at as well. So I thought that the layout of the website was nice. And again, I just wish that they had a little more cultural diversity, but I did really enjoy looking at the collection. I feel anyone who's interested in art would feel very welcomed coming in. And maybe the Europeans would know all about the artists there. I'm curious what you guys think. Leave me some comments, and thank you for watching.